It is 3:47 in the morning. No declaration of war has been made. No ultimatum issued. The world's news anchors are still asleep. And yet, somewhere over the Norwegian Sea, invisible to radar, invisible to satellite, invisible to everything, a B-2 Spirit stealth bomber is already past the point of no return. What happens in the next 60 minutes will not be recorded in any newspaper. It will not be announced on any television screen, because in 60 minutes there may be no screens left to broadcast on. The attack does not begin with an explosion. It begins with silence. At precisely 3:47 a.m. Moscow time, the United States initiates what military doctrine calls a suppression of enemy air defenses operation, SEAD. Dozens of AGM-158 JASSM cruise missiles launched hours earlier from B-1 Lancers cruising at altitude over international waters arrive simultaneously at their targets across western Russia. Not one of them has been seen on radar. Not one has triggered an alarm. The S-400 batteries that guard Moscow's outer defensive ring, the pride of Russian air defense, never get the chance to fire back, because they no longer exist. In the same moment, USS Virginia-class submarines positioned silently beneath the Arctic for days release a second wave. Tomahawk Block 5 missiles surge upward through the dark water, turning north before banking east toward Kaliningrad, Russia's military outpost on NATO's western flank. Kaliningrad, the base that holds Russia's Iskander nuclear-capable missiles, the base that Moscow has always described as the dagger pointed at Europe's heart. That dagger is being cut off at the handle. Within the first 4 minutes of the conflict, no missile has landed on Russian soil proper, but Russia's early warning system has already detected the launches. And in a bunker beneath Moscow, a phone is ringing. General Valery Gerasimov's doctrine, the blueprint for how Russia fights, has a name for this moment: escalate to de-escalate. The idea is simple, and it is terrifying. When faced with overwhelming conventional force, Russia does not retreat. Russia raises the stakes. At minute 5, Russian strategic rocket forces go to their highest alert status. Yars intercontinental ballistic missiles, each one carrying up to 6 independently targeted nuclear warheads, are placed in launch-ready position inside their hardened silos east of the Ural Mountains. This is not an attack. It is a message that every satellite above the planet is recording in real time. But the conventional response comes first. From the Caspian Sea, Kaliber cruise missiles, Russia's answer to the Tomahawk, claw their way into the sky. Their targets: U.S. THAAD missile defense batteries in Poland, forward NATO logistics hubs in Romania, the American command and control facility in Stuttgart, Germany. Russia is not trying to win the war. Russia is trying to make the cost of continuing it too high to bear. At minute 8, Russia's Oreshnik hypersonic missile, the weapon Putin unveiled to the world just months ago, is launched from Belarusian territory for the first time in a live conflict. It travels at 10 times the speed of sound. No existing Western defense system can intercept it. Its target is classified. Its arrival time, 4 minutes. The room in Brussels, where NATO ambassadors are being awakened by emergency calls, has gone very, very quiet. Article 5 of the NATO Charter has never been invoked in a war against a nuclear power, until now. As Russian missiles impact Polish territory, killing 11 American service members at a logistics base outside Warsaw, the 32-nation alliance crosses the threshold it has spent 80 years hoping never to cross. NATO's supreme allied commander Europe, SASUR, activates the alliance's nuclear planning group for the first time since the Cold War. F-35s assigned to nuclear strike missions at Aviano Air Base in Italy are authorized to be armed with B-6112 gravity bombs, America's newest tactical nuclear weapon. The pilots have been briefed on this scenario. They have trained for it, but none of them believed, until this morning, that they would actually be sitting in the cockpit with the arming codes in their hand. Simultaneously, the USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group, operating under full MCON emissions control, turns toward the Barents Sea. Its escorts, Arleigh Burke destroyers carrying over 200 Standard missiles and Tomahawks. its aircraft, F/A-18 Super Hornets and F-35Cs, airborne within minutes of the order. The Atlantic Ocean has become a front line. In Washington, the National Security Council has been in continuous session for 11 minutes. The President of the United States has been presented with 3 options by the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs. 2 of them are conventional, 1 of them is not. The President has not yet chosen. Before we get to the moment that changes everything, if this breakdown is the kind of content you've been looking for, make sure you're subscribed. The next analysis drops soon, and you do not want to miss it. 30 minutes into the conflict, both sides are still below the nuclear threshold, but the margin is measured in minutes, not hours. U.S. Cyber Command, the most sophisticated offensive cyber organization on Earth, has already been active since minute 0. Russia's power grid across 6 major cities flickers and dies. The Moscow metro stops mid-tunnel. Emergency services across the Russian capital operate on backup generators that were never designed for sustained use. The psychological impact is immediate. A city of 12 million people in darkness, understanding for the first time that the war is no longer somewhere else. Russia's GRU, military intelligence, responds in kind. A cyber attack originating from servers in St. Petersburg targets the U.S. Eastern Seaboard power grid. Portions of New York, Baltimore, and Boston lose power. Financial markets, already suspended since the first missile launches, do not reopen. At minute 32, Russian strategic bombers, 2 160 Blackjack aircraft, each one capable of carrying 12 nuclear-tipped cruise missiles, take off from Engels Air Base, south of Moscow, and begin flying west. They do not cross into NATO airspace. They do not need to. The message they carry is in the act of flying itself. NATO's own intercept aircraft scramble from bases in Norway, the United Kingdom, and Iceland to shadow them. 2 of the most powerful air forces in human history flying in tight formation, separated by 50 feet of airspace and the entirety of human civilization. Nobody fires. Yet. There is a term used inside America's nuclear command structure. It is called the decision window. It refers to the amount of time a president has to evaluate a potential nuclear strike, from the moment of warning detection to the moment a response must be authorized or abandoned. For a Russian ICBM launched from Siberia toward Washington, D.C., that window is approximately 12 minutes. At minute 46, a Russian early warning satellite detects what it identifies as a missile launch from the central United States. The alert is routed in seconds to the Kremlin. Russian doctrine, unlike American doctrine, does not require confirmation before authorizing a retaliatory strike. It requires only probability. The probability threshold has been crossed. What follows is 9 minutes and 40 seconds that will never be fully declassified. What we know from the accounts of former nuclear planners, from war game simulations run at the Rand Corporation and the Brookings Institution, from the testimony of men who have sat in those chairs, is this. In those 9 minutes, both sides will independently calculate whether the other side has already committed to escalation beyond recovery. If the answer on either side is yes, the missiles fly. The early warning system, it later emerges, detected a routine NASA test rocket launch from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. A mistake, a ghost in the machine, not unlike the 1983 incident when a Soviet satellite wrongly detected 5 American ICBM launches and a single-duty officer named Stanislav Petrov chose, against protocol, not to report it. His decision saved the world. This time, no one knows the name of the person making that choice. This time, no one knows if they make the right one. 60 minutes. In 60 minutes, 6 NATO countries have been struck by Russian missiles. 11 American soldiers are dead on Polish soil. 2 carrier strike groups are actively engaged in the North Atlantic. Tactical nuclear weapons are armed and loaded on aircraft that are already airborne. And somewhere, in a bunker beneath 200 feet of reinforced concrete, a man is holding a phone. Military historians will tell you that every major conflict in human history began with a miscalculation, not a plan, not a decision, a mistake, a misread signal, a ghost on a radar screen. The most dangerous 60 minutes in human history may not be the ones in which both sides choose war. They may be the ones in which neither side does, and war happens anyway. That is the world we live in. That is the reality that no headline fully captures and no news cycle holds long enough to explain. If this breakdown changed how you think about the world's most dangerous standoff, drop a comment with the one moment in this scenario that stopped you cold. And if you want the next classified breakdown the moment it drops, subscribe now, because the next one covers what happens in the hours after these 60 minutes end.